has been born. He's had multiple issues, as I've mentioned in the past. I mean, of course, he was born 3 months early. He was the littlest of the three, not by much, but by 2 ounces smaller than Ace, 1 ounce smaller than Allie, so not by much. But then contracting MRSA in the NICU, and then it going, getting into his blood and then into his spine, and just a bunch of different things. Just one thing led to another, and it's just it's caused some delays for him. I mean, not affected his determination in any way, but just a bunch of different things. And then we had a hard time just with the insurances trying to get him the RSV shot. The other two, we didn't have an issue. They were able to get the RSV shot, but for some reason, we just couldn't get the insurances to communicate and get him the RSV shot, but with the insurances and the pharmacies and everything, and he didn't. And then he ended up in the hospital with RSV for a couple of days, and fortunately he's a little fighter, and it was just 2 days in the hospital, and he came home, and he was just fine. He did end up getting the RSV shot this season, and he's been okay. The other two ended up getting RSV this season, and he didn't, somehow miraculously. But anyway, right now, what we're dealing with right now is a couple of months ago, we noticed, in therapy, then they noticed that he's been not closing his mouth to breathe. He's been breathing through his mouth, kind of like his nose has been stuffy. And at first, we thought, well, he's got a little cold. They all were kind of dealing with a little cold at the time, so we didn't think too much about it. Even in therapy, they were like, yeah, he does seem a little stuffy, so we're not gonna pick on him too much for that. But that is something that we want to, try to focus on a little bit. That's gonna help him with his eating, because he was having a little bit of a difficulty eating. He wanted to eat, but he was gagging a little bit, and it was making it a little bit difficult with his feeding therapy for them to work with him. But then we noticed that he was snoring, and again, when we first noticed it, it was during the time when he had a cold. But then it wasn't getting better; it was actually getting worse, and I noticed, and of course, then I start to kind of panic. It was really nerve-wracking to hear him sleeping, because he's snoring like a grown man. He actually, my first thought was, man, he sounds like my dad when he's sleeping, because he, not to sound very weird right now, but he's like, and he would almost be like that, where he wasn't catching his breath, and then all of a sudden it would break through, like there was something blocking him. And then I started thinking, oh man, is that what sleep apnea sounds like? Like, I'd heard of sleep apnea, which I'd heard people say they'd stop breathing is what sleep apnea was, but I didn't really know exactly what that meant. They'd stop breathing, and I still don't know. This is still me just trying to make sense of it all. But when I brought it up to the pediatrician and the therapist, then they said, you know what, that sounds like that could be. We may need to talk to, he may need a sleep study, and they said reach out to the ENT. Since he had already seen an ENT, because he did have a tongue tie and a lip tie, then he's already seen an ENT, then reach out to them and see if you can get back in with them. So I did that, and they made an appointment for the end of April. The therapist said, this could be part of the issues, and since we are having issues with him with the feeding therapy, he's still gagging when he's trying to eat. We're still having some difficulty there, but also his muscle development, he's underdeveloped. Maybe it is due to the MRSA issue from when he was still in the NICU. but maybe this is part of it too. Maybe he's not getting enough oxygen when he's sleeping, or, whatever, maybe. So we need to address this, and I don't think that we can wait until April. So they told me, start calling every day and just see if we can get in with a cancellation. So that's what I started doing. And I told them, I wasn't trying to, be a pest. So I just told them when I called, I said, would it be okay if I just called every day, and just, if you have a cancellation today, I will drop everything and come. Just whenever you have a cancellation, because who knows, maybe somebody calls that morning and says, I can't come today, and I'll just drop everything and take that appointment. And so the lady was very understanding. She said, sure, that'll be fine. And I asked her when would be a good time to call. She said, well, you could call in the morning when we open, and then call again around noon. So that's what I started doing, and I did that. I called on Monday, I called on Tuesday, I called on Wednesday, and then, but that's what I did. And then we have a developmental therapist who comes on Wednesdays, and she said, why don't you call the development clinic that we were seeing every 6 months? She said, and see if maybe they have some insight. She said, because they may know someone else that he might be able to see that could get him in a little sooner, because this does seem like this is that something that shouldn't wait 3 months. Just because it is causing him, it could be something that is causing more issues than just snoring. So I called the clinic, and when I called, the girl that answered when I called, she remembered him. She happened to be the one who evaluated them on their birthday in December, and she said, no, I do remember that he was very underdeveloped, more so than the other two, even for being 3-month preemie. She said that could be something that is part of the reason. And she goes, let me see what I can find out, and I'll give you a call back. Hour later, she called back, and she said, you have an appointment in 3 weeks with the ENT who did his lip and tongue. And I guess she just called and explained, the situation and the issues that it could be causing, so they were able to work him in. So that's where we are, on our way right now. Unfortunately, all the phone towers are down, so I used Wi-Fi and pulled up the directions and screenshotted them. I'm old school MapQuesting the directions, so we'll see if I don't get lost on my way and make it hopefully not too late. I left in plenty of time, but we'll see. But yeah, hopefully we get some kind of good news. Not just, oh yeah, I don't know, some kind of answers, not just like, oh no, yeah, that doesn't seem to be the problem. Not that I want to go in and find out, yes, this is a problem, and this is, this is a problem, but I would like to hear this is a problem and here's a solution. So we shall see.